G'day guys, and finally welcome back to the Iron Empire. This time we're making a little bit more progress on the ZF Fairlane. Alright, now I'm going to get these wheels prepped up, ready for the hubcaps to go on. I've got a 185 on a pair of trailer wheels that I got from Majestic Tyres. He's my local tyre guy down at Hendon. He does second-hand tyres, and these were already fitted up, so I got them off him for 50 bucks each. I've got two 1.5s for the rear. 1.85s were actually factory for this car, but I thought this would be a good chance to talk about rattle packs. I'm using Fiddly Bits, which is one of the cheapest paints that you can get from Bunnings, but it's actually made by PBG, which is a good paint brand. So I've had some pretty good results from this. I got put into this from Jake, and I always get the flat black because satin black tends to be my go-to color for parts and stuff like that, and it is a lot more forgiving. I've prepped this up with a scouring pad to get the paint to bite in, and always do a couple of dust coats to make sure that the product bonds to what you're trying to stick it to. If you come out Helfer leather, nice and thick, it's going to lift over time, and that's when you get bad paint work, bad prep work, and that's what gives rattle packs a bad name. Another thing I forgot to mention, a bit of a hot tip to get these things to flow a lot nicer. One of the main problems with the rattle pack is that you have very little control over the spray. There's two things you can do. One, you can heat up the item. You can use a heat torch or whatever, get it nice and warm, which does help it bond. And as well, you can also pop this in a bucket of warm water. I've had it sitting in the warm water for like half an hour as I've been preparing the wheels, and it does sort of help to build a bit of pressure in the can, and it does sort of soften the paint, gets it to flow out nicer, and you get a way better result.
Body counts in the house. 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 Body counts in the house.
So there's one other thing I thought I'd do while the car's up in the air, putting this last wheel on, after seeing it on the ground the other side. With the hubcaps, it does look a little bit higher, and this car's never sat level. It's always been a little bit high in the back, which I can't stand. So I've got these old lowering blocks, which I found in the shed, which obviously come out of a car back in the day. And they're only 3/4 of an inch, so not very much, but that will just drop the back that little bit more, and we'll get it pretty close to level. And the good thing about that is that I can get away with using the U-bolts that are already in the car, because there was about an inch worth of thread left. So an easy little mod to do just to get the car looking that little bit better. So after hitting this thing with a tungsten block, and I gave it a bit of a rub with some 2000, didn't really do much. I'm used to doing more small stuff like motorbike tanks and stuff like that, and you can usually get it by hand or a little mini buff, but I wanted to cut this thing back better. So basically I've gone to the 6-inch orbital, and I got some foam pads from the local paint supplier, and they pretty much have worked how I've expected them to work. You may have seen these things on the market. They're literally material, and they've got the grits on the back. So I've got 1500, 2000, 2500 and 3000, and I was preparing to go through all the steps right up to 3000 and get it nice and smooth, then hit it with a buff. And as I expected, this 1500 pad started off nice and gritty, and then not even halfway through that boot, it's doing nothing. Now, admittedly, it's a cheaper brand, Phoenixia. I wasn't expecting much out of these, but I did get told that it would get me a few panels. It hasn't even got me one panel. I'm opening the door to any painters to ridicule me for what I'm doing wrong here. I've got a 6-inch orbital with these pads, plenty of water, and they're not lasting. That is smooth as, totally useless. And as you know, if you keep trying to push it with blunt paper, it's simply not getting the job done. So I've gone down to 2000, and that is ripping into it even more than 1500. So I can imagine that's not gonna last too long either. So anyway, I'm gonna keep chipping away. I'm gonna buzz this as far as I can, as long as these pads will let me, run the buff over it, and hopefully she comes up like glass. Well, that'll do for this week's episode of the Iron Empire. Not groundbreaking stuff this week. There was just a lot of little jobs that needed to get done on this Fairlane. There still is a lot to do. I'm not happy with the boot. I'm going to do some more polishing on that during the week. There's a few little interior things I'm yet to do, and I haven't touched on the engine bay yet. But it is a few steps closer to being exactly how I want it. I think it does look a hell of a lot better with the original hubcap look. Nice, low and slow is definitely the look I'm going for. Before we do wrap up this episode, I just wanted to say a huge shout out to anyone who reached out to me over the last month. I have been very quiet lately, been just feeling a little bit flat, and I haven't strung enough days together to finish a video to show you guys, but there has been some stuff going on in the background. I have got some new projects, I have some progress on some old projects, and I'm really excited to announce that I have some fresh merch. About a month ago, I did do a poll on my YouTube channel to see what people wanted, and I was asking if people wanted some colors, and the answer is yes, people want color. Well, you got color. This may not be what people had in mind when I said, do you guys want colorful merch? But I couldn't resist. I did see these when shopping for my next lot of flannies. I did have green, red, and blue, and I still do have those in stock. I have another batch in, so there's plenty in the store, but I couldn't go past these. These were so fruity. Initially I couldn't stand it, but it grew on me. I bought a batch of these. I wear one myself, and they are now available in the online store. So if you're a bit fruity, grab one of those. And my latest design is the long sleeves. I haven't had long sleeves aside from the flannies and hoodies, so I've got this long sleeve tee. They come in a washed out black with a pocket print, and also a washed out blue. I really like the blue. It's just a little bit different than black all the time, and I just wanted something a little bit low key but tasteful. So we have the Iron Empire pocket print there, and the sleeve print, the Iron Empire. So plenty of stock in the online store. If you haven't already, please check that out. All the support is hugely appreciated, and and I will see you all on an upcoming episode of The Iron Empire. Cheers, guys.
Shit! Body counts in the house. Body counts in the house. Body counts in the house.